The Economic Weekly is, my name is Wandiri Getogo from the Economic Weekly, which is a weekly podcast looking into traditional and digital economy and attempts to create a fusion between the two. And our aim is to explore e-commerce payments, gig economy, and cryptocurrency, and present to our listeners the opportunities and challenges in this new landscape. Welcome to the show, Mr. Stephen Kinuthia from Mezzanine, East Africa.
Thank you very much. A pleasure to be here.
Briefly tell us about Mezzanine East Africa and some of the digital solutions you offer.
Okay. Mondiri, again, thank you very much for inviting me to this interview. So just a little bit background of who Mezzanine is. Mezzanine, we are a mobile solutions company based out of South Africa. We are owned by Vodacom, and what our mandate is to drive the digital transformation across Vodacom footprint in Africa. So what I mean by that is we work closely with the likes of Vodacom Tanzania. In Tanzania, we work also with Safaricom and Ghana and so on, wherever Vodacom is represented. But we've chosen to keep an independent brand for the purpose of being able to go to what we call off-footprint markets, because our platform is telco agnostic. So what I mean by that is that we can go to a place like Uganda, where there isn't necessarily a Vodacom or Vodafone entity, and be able to deliver solutions. So that's why we keep the independent brand. Our success stories are across agriculture, health, and education, but we've started now veering off to other uncharted territories such as FMCG and the quasi-NGO space and so on. And I'm excited to talk about more on that on the podcast.
What are your experiences dealing with governments from different jurisdictions in East Africa?
Very good. So that's actually now the mandate that I had in East Africa to drive our solutions now again within East Africa, and we've been very successful. Actually, I'm quite proud of the success we've had, primarily in Tanzania and Kenya. In Kenya, we are very proud of our e-voucher system that has been used by the Ministry of Agriculture to disburse subsidy to smallholder farmers. And the way it works, Wandiri, is it's very simplified for users, but of course the complexity sits behind. So what we've done is utilize the infrastructure that sister company Safaricom has, which is on the traditional telco products, that is SMS, M-Pesa, data, and USSD, to be able to offer a solution that in real time delivers vouchers to pre-vetted farmers that they can go to an approved agro dealer or agro vet to be able to get the subsidy that they have they qualify for. So coming back to your question, our experience is that we have found that in areas where government is quite determined to deliver the solution, it will work well. But I must admit that there is also complexity sometimes, because working with government, there is the laborious process of, unfortunately, of procurement, which is understandable because, of course, we have to ensure that we follow the Procurement Act. The challenge has always been, obviously, is moving from one phase to another. It takes a bit of time. And what I mean by that is, and give you an example, our first phase one project was around 2015, and it was successful, and everybody was very much psyched up to move on to the next phase. But we have to go through the procurement process. That whole process back and forth took about 2 years. So of course, there is a bit of attrition in terms of lost knowledge, movement of staff, changes in technology, and so on. But we did re-kickstart back the project back in 2019, and now we're happy to say that we are about to serve. We're serving about 500,000 farmers, and across 12 counties, which very soon will be increased to 25. So in short, the experience it is, I must admit, it's a bit daunting, but where there is buying from the top, it does work.
Interesting. I really like your point about working with the Ministry of Agriculture in Kenya to provide subsidies to farmers. In matters agriculture, small-scale farmers make up the majority of Africa's agriculture factor. Kindly take us through Mezzanine's connected farmer solution and the benefit it's bringing to these farmers.
So our agriculture journey started about 8 to 10 years ago when we were approached by USAID together with a few the dairy cooperatives who wanted to simplify the process in which they go through by engaging farmers. And they said they had at that time, they had two primary issues that they wanted to resolve. Primary issue number one was they wanted farmer loyalty. Of course, and this was primarily initially within the dairy sector, which is marred with lots of middlemen, which is also marred with a lot of, unfortunately, also adulteration of milk. It was just not sustainable for the dairy cooperatives. So they said, how can we leverage on technology, to drive efficiency in the process, and more so, in addition to that, build the farmer loyalty. So what we were able to do is offer them what we call a cloud solution, which meant it was very easy for them to adopt. And the way it works is that, of course, agriculture works primarily out of the office setting. It's in the field. So they've got what they call milk graders or milk clerks. These are the people who collect the milk from the smallholder farmers. And we were able to give them an app. And where they said that they had lots of mistrust is because a lot of the farmers would deliver milk. And if I deliver, let's say, 10 kilos of milk. Apparently, for a lot of people don't know milk is actually measured in kilos, not liters. But so when milk is delivered, let's say I deliver 10 kilos of milk, and the person who's weighing the milk says, no, it was actually 8, or we both do see it's 10. At the end of the month, when the farmer gets paid, they don't get paid for the full amount. So there was a lot of mistrust, and that's why farmers were actually leaving a lot of these dairy cooperatives. So the first thing we did was to integrate our solution with the scales using a Bluetooth mechanism. And what this does is simply it captures the weight, where the farmer sees what the weight is, and also the milk grader says that, yes, I do acknowledge that you brought in 10 liters or 10 kilos of milk. Now, with that, we are able instantly, or even later in the day, send the farmer what we call an e-receipt, which is in the form of an SMS. So the SMS goes out to the farmer and says, Farmer Wandiri, today you delivered 10 liters of milk, and this is confirmation. So the following day, when they bring another 5 liters, we're able also to say, today you brought in 5, and this month you brought 15, so that at the end of the month, that accumulation is done. So it sounds very simple, but it was a very powerful, I would say, game changer in that space. And we started now building on that. So the connected farmer solution over time now, since about around 2010, we have been able to come up with 3 different variations, because agriculture, from our perspective, has 3 different variations. So variation number 1 is what we call the enterprise model, where enterprises such as private enterprises, or I've talked about dairy cooperatives, engage with the farmer on a business perspective. And then there is the government setting. An example is like what I talked about earlier about the e-voucher or e-subsidy system. So a setting that talks to the government in terms of how reporting is done, in terms of how they engage with farmers, and so on. Far and above that, then we invested our own cash and built what we call a consumer solution. So this is where now, instead of us having a relationship with the government or with the enterprise who engages with the farmer, we are now going straight to the farmer and saying, can we invest in a super platform that brings all ecosystem partners on one platform to be able to engage directly with the smallholder farmer and build value for the smallholder farmer. So our big, huge, audacious goal is where we want to see farmers, have increased output based on that they can till all the land that they have, because a lot of them are tilling only half. And then B, even if they're tilling even if they're tilling all the land that they have, can they maximize their output? Research out there shows that African farmers are earning less than 30% of their potential compared to the Western farmers. So how can we bridge that gap using technology? And then lastly is that building on economies of scale directly, we can be able to put more money in the pocket for the farmer. So we've got those three variations of the connected farmer solution, which have had tremendous success across our platform. So in Kenya alone, we have over 1.5 million. Across Africa, that number is dwindling over close to 2.5. So we're excited about this.
I like that you mentioned that the connected farmer is a cloud solution. What role do you see cloud services playing going forward, given the rise in remote working? And does Mezzanine look into getting into this sector?
Absolutely. So something I didn't mention in my intro in terms of from a telco perspective, why Vodacom is continuously investing through us and also other initiatives in this is that telco services, telco organizations, again using the Safaricom as an example, have invested heavily on the infrastructure. And the infrastructure has been able to deliver SMS, has been able to deliver data, has been able to deliver voice, has been able to deliver financial services, that's M-Pesa. And then on top of that, of course, there's also cloud services. So what we are saying is, how can we put all these solutions together to be able to deliver value for enterprises? And that's where, again, I've talked about agriculture. We've been able to do this in health. We've been able to do this in education, and we have very good use cases that we can talk about later. Now, the role that I see as playing more from a cloud services perspective is mobility will be king in the next quarter. I talk a lot about my favorite phone. I don't know if you probably know that phone. It's about I think about 15 or 18 years old. It's the Nokia 3310. I don't know if you're that old to have used that phone. And we were all excited about using the Nokia 3310 because the Nokia 3310, the battery went for on and on and on and on. We played games on it and so on. And that's what motivated. What else can we do with this phone apart from just talking with it? So what you will notice, Wandiri, is that we have a shift because of the connection with cloud services. The phone will become the primary use in terms of how we interact with various services and how we work and so on. If you told somebody about 10 years ago that you can edit a document on your phone and actually send it via email, they would have said, absolutely, that's not possible, the font and so on and so forth. But you and I today know that is reality. So how can we also now move transactional elements on the cloud to be able to make this possible? So cloud services will continue being offered, and we will shift away. And also, sorry, one last point while I move away from the cloud services is initially the apprehensiveness was the data security, data ownership, and so on. Now we've got policy across the world or within governments that have helped us protect data. That's number one. And number two, security in terms of cloud services have been very, very, very well improved. That if you give an example, if we look at an example of like M-Pesa, we've not even had a single serious hack on M-Pesa. So I think that's just a point of an endorsement in terms of or a proof that this can actually work. And also an endorsement from government that I was also apprehensive was the citizenry data today, your data sits on the Safaricom cloud. So when you want to renew your driver's license, you want to do a land search on your land, that data sits on the cloud. So there's also endorsement from government, which has really helped us accelerate this process. And then, of course, we're also shifting away because of this confidence now. Initially, when a CIO sat in front of a board and said, I need a budget of $500,000 or $1 million, it seemed unfathomable. And the only way they could show what they've invested in is having a huge data center that they can take the board and say, okay, look at all these machines humming humming away and so on. But today people have come to understand that you don't necessarily need to have a data center for yourself. So this is now shifting more towards cloud services, which is exciting.
That's a very good point on cloud services and the role they will play moving forward. In the last 1 year, the pandemic has necessitated the need for digitization of education. How is Mezzanine positioning itself to take up opportunities in virtual tutoring, online school management, and online learning?
Okay, thank you very much. So what let me first start with what we've done, and then I'll tell you where we're going. So what we've been successfully able to do is to automate school management in South Africa, and this is something that we are trying to bring into East Africa as well, is ability to take roll calls, ability to report on incidences, ability to manage attendance both for students and for teachers, and be able find above manage incidences. Again, from a cloud perspective. In terms of where we are going, not only learning within education as we call it, we also moving to other verticals. And I give you an example. Here in Kenya, we've worked with AMREF, and we've delivered a solution that does mobile learning for community health workers. And basically how it works uses three primary technologies. It uses IVR, which is voice, it uses SMS, and a cloud solution, and cloud storage. So what the ministry has what AMREF have been able to do is they've been able to say, for example, if you're a community health worker in Marsabit County, we need to train you about prevention of malaria. And they will enroll you on a course that they put together. And on this course, once you're subscribed to it as a community health worker, you get a notification. You're told, dear community health worker Jane, you've been enrolled on the malaria course for AMREF. So when you pick up, when you click next, you can either receive an SMS that tells you for troubleshooting with, for diagnosing with malaria, check the temperature, or you can simply listen to recorded messages and move on next to next and so on. The beauty of this is that community health workers have been able to learn at their own pace. And then after that, they can go through an evaluation. So you can be able, and because this data again is centrally stored, you can be able to see community health worker Jane in Marsabit has actually gone through a malaria course, a TB course, a midwifery course, and so on. So even when you have interventions, you know who actually has had the training. So we are again, coming back to mobile, we are seeing mobile playing a big role in terms of where we are going to take education. The same capability, we also have transferred it to agriculture. So where we are teaching smallholder farmers on good practices, instead of having to put them in a room, especially again with the pandemic situation.
Probably what I've taken as my biggest lesson from the automation of education is the role that mobile phone is playing in the sectors of education, agriculture. Turning our eye onto the health sector, what do you see as solution to driving uptake in mobile-based health insurance products, and does Mezzanine offer such a solution?
We are currently not offering such a solution. What we focused on is primarily, again, and you're right, absolutely, with what you said, the mobile playing a big role. This is a deliberate purpose that we've taken to leverage on mobile, because again, as a telco company, we've already invested in the infrastructure. Mobile phones are getting faster. They are getting, you can reach what we call the last mile. From Nairobi, I can have somebody in Turkana start, subscribe to a course like the one I talked about earlier. So in terms of the role that I see Mezzanine playing, it will become more of an enabler, because we are, for lack of a better way of expressing it, innovation driven. So we like working with partners who have a problem statement, and then we'll drive to them. So although that's not an area that we have actually invested in, I do see us getting into that, especially again, given that we already have the infrastructure and we've already have solutions like I talked about. One particular other one that we've also been very successful is the community health worker solution that has also been used by AMREF to be able to register citizens at the very, what we call the last mile, at the village level, and also help enroll them into NHIF. So that way, having this data, collecting this data has helped facilitate that whole process for AMREF. And I see us again augmenting that solution with as we move further on in the health sector.
What do you think? What do you think is the solution to drive uptake in mobile-based health insurance?
It has to be simple to use. That's number one. It has to be simple to use and to subscribe to. The reason why M-Pesa has been successful is the complexity of M-Pesa is completely kept away from the user. So when you receive money, for the average user, they don't even think about what goes on in the back. Does money really move? Just because I got this SMS, is it proof that I have money in my mobile wallet? So if we were to adopt the same principle, make it easy for the end user and the ecosystem players, so the insurance companies, maybe financials as well, and so on, that would definitely accelerate the uptake. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bwana Kinuthia. That is all we had for today's podcast.